My 10-year-old daughter called 911 during her own birthday party, and I've never been so humiliated. The officers arrived while we were singing Happy Birthday. 2 uniformed police and a woman in plain clothes carrying a badge and clipboard walked straight through our backyard gate, while my daughter Lily sat at the head of the picnic table with her hands folded in her lap, waiting. The singing stopped mid-verse. 17 children and their parents froze with cake forks halfway to their mouths. My wife Natalie dropped the camera she'd been using to record the moment. The female officer, whose badge read Detective Walsh, walked directly to Lily and knelt beside her chair. "You're the one who called?" Lily nodded once, then pointed at me. "That's my dad. He needs to be arrested." My hands went numb. The backyard spun. Every parent stared at me with identical expressions of horror and disgust. Mrs. Pemberton grabbed her twins and started backing toward the gate. Mr. Liu pulled out his phone and started recording. I opened my mouth to explain, to defend myself, to say anything that would make sense of what was happening, but nothing came out except a strangled sound that made me look even more guilty. Detective Walsh asked everyone except immediate family to leave, which triggered a mass exodus that felt like being abandoned during a house fire. Parents grabbed their children and ran, leaving behind wrapped presents and half-eaten cake. Within 90 seconds, our backyard went from celebration to crime scene. Lily's best friend Sophie was physically carried away by her mother, who shot me a look that could have stripped paint. The bounce house rental company guy unplugged his equipment and left without asking for payment. Natalie stood frozen by the cake table, her face completely white. Our son River, who was 6, started crying and asking why everyone was leaving his sister's party. Detective Walsh's partner, Officer Brennan, positioned himself between me and Lily like I might lunge for her. I raised my hands slowly, trying to show I wasn't a threat, but the gesture made me look like I was surrendering, which maybe I was. Lily sat perfectly still in her birthday crown, watching me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not scared, not angry, just cold and determined. Detective Walsh asked Lily to explain why she'd called 911 from her mother's phone during her own birthday party, and Lily reached under the picnic table where she'd apparently stashed a backpack we hadn't noticed. She pulled out a purple folder labeled Evidence in her careful handwriting. Inside were papers, photos, and what looked like printed screenshots. She laid them out on the table one by one like she'd practiced this presentation. "My dad has been stealing from my college fund for 8 months, she said clearly. "He's gambling online every night. I have bank statements showing he took $23,000. Detective Walsh picked up the first document. It was indeed a bank statement with my name on it, showing transfers from an education savings account to my checking account. Natalie made a sound like she'd been punched. I started to speak, but Walsh held up her hand. Lily continued, "He told me and River that we'd have money for college, but he's been lying. I checked the account using Mom's computer when she thought I was doing homework. The balance is almost zero now." The next item Lily presented was a printed screenshot showing my laptop screen open to an online poker site. She'd somehow captured it with timestamps showing 2:17 a.m. from last Monday. I remembered that night. I'd been sure I could win back what I'd lost. Just one more hand. The screenshot showed my balance, negative $4,800. "He's always on his laptop late at night," Lily explained to the detective. "He says he's working, but I heard him swearing at his computer. I waited until he fell asleep and took pictures with Mom's phone." There were 6 more screenshots, each from different nights, each showing different gambling sites, each showing me deeper in the hole. The total losses added up to more than just the college fund. Way more. Detective Walsh looked at Natalie. "Mrs. Reeves, did you know about any of this?" Natalie shook her head, tears streaming down her face. She'd grabbed River and was holding him so tight he was squirming. I tried to explain that I was going to pay it back, that I'd just hit a bad streak, that I had a system that would work, but the words sounded pathetic even to me. Officer Brennan asked if I wanted to stop talking and maybe consult a lawyer. Lily wasn't finished. She pulled out phone records showing calls to loan companies I'd contacted for cash advances. She had credit card statements I thought were hidden showing cash withdrawals at casinos. She had a notebook where she'd tracked my computer time over the past 2 months, noting when I stayed up past midnight and what I was doing. The notebook was detailed and methodical. She'd even drawn little graphs showing the pattern. This wasn't a kid having a tantrum. This was a child who'd been investigating her own father for weeks, documenting everything, building a case. "I told Mom 3 times that something was wrong," Lily said, her voice cracking for the first time. "I said Dad was acting weird and staying up late and seeming worried. She said he was stressed about work. I told Grandma last month that our college money might be gone. She said I shouldn't worry about grown-up things." Detective Walsh made notes while Lily talked. "I found a letter from the bank saying the account was closed due to insufficient funds. Dad intercepted the mail and hid it, but I saw it in his car under the seat when I was looking for my soccer ball. I took a picture before he found me there. The letter was in the folder too, creased and coffee-stained but clearly official. It stated that the education savings account ending in 4829 had been depleted and closed per the account holder's request. Natalie read it 3 times, each time her face getting more devastated. She looked at me finally, and I saw our marriage ending in her eyes. "You closed their college fund?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "You told me last week we had 40,000 saved." You showed me a statement. Lily reached into the folder again and pulled out 2 documents. One was the fake statement I'd created in Photoshop, showing $41,000. The other was the real final statement, showing $127. She laid them side by side. He made the fake one, Lily explained. I found the file on his computer. It's saved as college fund fake. He didn't even try to hide it well. Detective Walsh asked how a 10-year-old knew how to access bank accounts and computer files. Lily explained that her school taught digital literacy in 3rd grade, and she'd learned about online banking from a presentation her teacher did about financial responsibility. She said she got suspicious when I kept making excuses about not having money for her piano lessons, even though I'd promised she could continue. That detail broke something in me. I'd told Lily we needed to pause her piano lessons for a few months because they were too expensive. She'd cried for an hour. Natalie had been furious, saying we'd promised Lily she could pursue music. I'd blamed work cutting my hours, the economy, unexpected car repairs, all lies. The money had gone to poker sites with names like River Cards and Allen Aces, sites that promised easy wins and delivered steady losses. I'd started small, just $20 here and there, then 50, then hundreds, then thousands. It snowballed so fast I couldn't track it. Every loss made me more determined to win it back. The classic gambler's fallacy, but I'd been certain I was different. I'd studied strategies. I knew the odds. I was smarter than the average player, except I wasn't. I was just another addict draining his family's future for the illusion of one big score. Detective Walsh asked if there were any other accounts or funds that had been accessed. Lily consulted her notebook like a prosecutor checking evidence. He took money from their joint savings too, $8,000 in March. He told Mom it was for a bonus investment opportunity through work. There's no investment. I checked. Natalie sat down hard on the grass. River was still crying, asking what was happening. Why was everyone mad at Daddy? A neighbor peered over the fence and quickly ducked back down. By tonight, the whole neighborhood would know. My daughter had called the police on me during her birthday party because I'd stolen her college fund to feed a gambling addiction. The humiliation was total and complete. Detective Walsh explained that while stealing from your own child's education account wasn't technically theft in the legal sense since I was the account holder, the situation warranted investigation. She asked if I'd taken out any loans or credit cards in Lily's name. The question made Natalie gasp. I hadn't. That line I hadn't crossed. But the fact that she had to ask showed how far I'd fallen. Walsh asked to speak with Natalie and me separately. Officer Brennan stayed with the kids in the backyard while Walsh took us inside. Our house looked staged for a magazine spread, everything perfect on the surface, everything rotting underneath, just like our lives. Natalie wouldn't look at me. She sat on the couch with her arms wrapped around herself, rocking slightly. Detective Walsh explained that Lily had called 911 at 3:14 p.m., right before the party started, and told the dispatcher she needed help because her father was stealing from her and her brother, and no one was listening. The dispatcher had taken her seriously because Lily had been calm, specific, and had proof ready. She's a remarkably intelligent child, Walsh said. She told our dispatcher exactly what evidence she had and asked if officers could come during her birthday party so all the adults would be present. She said you were less likely to lie if there were witnesses. I felt sick. My 10-year-old had strategized how to expose me in front of maximum witnesses for accountability. She'd planned this whole thing. The party, the timing, everything. That's why she'd insisted on having the party at home instead of the skating rink like we'd suggested. She needed us on our own property where police could easily access us. Every detail had been calculated. Walsh continued. Lily also provided names of family members who could verify her attempts to report the problem to adults. She said her grandmother dismissed her concerns and her mother didn't believe her. Is that accurate, Mrs. Reeves? Natalie nodded miserably. Lily did mention something a few weeks ago about the college money. She asked if we could check the account together. I told her not to worry, that Daddy and I had it handled. She seemed anxious, but I thought she was just stressed about school. She looked at me with pure betrayal. You've been lying to my face for months. You showed me fake statements. You blamed your hours getting cut. You said we needed to budget better. And the whole time, you were gambling away our children's futures. I wanted to defend myself, to explain the psychology of addiction, to say it wasn't really me making these choices but the compulsion that had taken over. But Detective Walsh cut through any excuses. Mr. Reeves, I need to ask directly. Have you used any of your wife's funds or credit without her knowledge? I hesitated too long. Natalie's face went from devastated to furious. What else? She demanded. What else have you done? I admitted I'd taken cash advances on 3 credit cards that were in both our names. I'd intercepted the statements and paid the minimums to avoid her noticing. The total balance was close to $30,000. All of it gone to gambling sites and casino trips I'd lied about being work conferences. Natalie stood up and walked out of the room without a word. Detective Walsh made more notes. Mr. Reeves, I'm not arresting you today because the financial crimes you've committed are against your own family and accounts you had legal access to. But you need to understand the severity of this situation. Your daughter felt so unheard and unsafe that she called emergency services. A 10-year-old child gathered evidence and built a case against her own father because the adults in her life failed to protect her. The shame was crushing, but Walsh wasn't done. This will be reported to Child Protective Services. They'll investigate whether there's financial neglect or emotional harm. Your wife has grounds for divorce and full custody based on financial abuse and deception. The credit card companies may press charges for fraud. You're looking at legal, financial, and family consequences that will take years to resolve, if you're lucky. She handed me a card for a gambling addiction counselor and a list of Gamblers Anonymous meetings. Then she stood up and told me she'd be recommending I seek immediate treatment and that CPS would likely require proof of treatment to avoid further action. Your daughter did something incredibly brave today, Walsh said as she headed toward the door. She advocated for herself when no one else would. Most kids suffer in silence. You should be grateful she's this strong, even though it cost you your dignity. I walked back outside on shaking legs. Lily was showing Officer Brennan her folder, explaining how she'd organized the evidence by date and category. River was eating birthday cake mechanically, tears still running down his face. The backyard was destroyed, not physically but energetically. Scattered presents no one had opened. A banner saying, "Happy 10th birthday, Lily," flapping in the breeze. The bounce house slowly deflating because the rental guy had pulled the plug. Natalie was on her phone in the corner of the yard, her back to everyone. I heard her say "Mom," and then start crying. She was calling her mother, probably asking if she and the kids could stay there tonight. Officer Brennan told Lily she'd done the right thing, that speaking up was always correct even when it felt scary. Lily asked if her dad was going to jail. Brennan said probably not, but that there would be consequences to help him get better. Lily nodded seriously, like she'd expected that answer. She asked if she and River would be okay, if they'd still have food and a house. Brennan promised that the adults would figure it out, and that she and her brother would be protected. I wanted to promise that too, but I'd burned through any credibility. My promises meant nothing. Detective Walsh left after giving Natalie her card and telling her to call if she needed help navigating the CPS investigation, or if I became threatening. The implication that I might be dangerous to my own family was another gut punch. Natalie refused to speak to me. She told the kids to go inside and pack bags for a few days. River asked where they were going, and she said Grandma's house. Lily packed her purple folder carefully back into her backpack and zipped it closed. She'd accomplished what she set out to do, exposed the truth, forced action, saved herself and her brother from more months or years of my lies. I tried to apologize as she walked past me toward the house. "Lily, I'm so sorry. I'm sick. I have a problem. I'm going to get help. I promise I'll fix this." She stopped and looked at me with those cold, determined eyes. "You promised lots of things, Dad. That's what made me keep the evidence. I knew you'd try to explain it away. I needed proof, so people would have to listen." And she walked inside. My 10-year-old daughter had just taught me that actions speak louder than words, that trust requires proof, that she was smarter and braver than I'd ever given her credit for, and that I'd broken something between us that might never be repairable. Natalie emerged from the house with 2 suitcases and the kids. She'd changed out of her party outfit into jeans and a sweatshirt, like she was shedding the costume of our fake happy life. "My lawyer will contact you about separation paperwork," she said, not looking at me. "Don't call me. Don't come to my mother's house. Don't contact the kids unless it's through my lawyer. I'll text you information about the CPS investigation when I know more." I asked if we could at least talk, figure this out together. She laughed bitterly. "Figure it out? Greg, you spent our children's futures on gambling. You lied to my face every single day. You made fake bank statements. You traumatized our daughter so badly that she had to build a criminal case against you just to be believed. There's nothing to figure out. You're an addict and a liar, and I can't trust you near our kids until you fix yourself. If you can fix yourself." She loaded the kids into her car while I stood helpless in our driveway. Neighbors were definitely watching now. Curtains twitched. Ring doorbells captured everything. By tomorrow, I'd be the guy whose daughter called the cops on him at her own birthday party. The neighborhood cautionary tale. After they drove away, I walked back into the empty house. The birthday decorations mocked me. Balloons in pink and purple, Lily's favorite colors. A banner we'd hung together last night while she smiled and helped me get the spacing right. She'd known then what she was going to do. She'd helped me decorate for the party where she'd expose me. The calculation was chilling and completely justified. I opened my laptop and looked at my browser history. Poker sites, sports betting, slot machine simulators, then the search history from last week. How to hack bank accounts, how to find hidden passwords, how to prove someone is lying. Lily had used my own computer to research how to catch me. She'd sat next to me on the couch while I pretended to work, learning how to gather evidence against me. The history showed she'd watched YouTube videos about documenting abuse and creating legal proof. At 10 years old, she'd become a detective to save her own family. I called the gambling addiction hotline on the card Detective Walsh had given me. The counselor who answered had heard stories like mine before. He scheduled me for an assessment the next morning and gave me the address of a Gamblers Anonymous meeting that started in 90 minutes. He said the first step was admitting I was powerless over gambling, that my life had become unmanageable. I laughed hollowly. My daughter just called 911 on me at her birthday party. Unmanageable was an understatement. The GA meeting was in a church basement that smelled like coffee and regret. 12 people sat in a circle sharing stories that sounded too familiar. The guy next to me had lost his house. The woman across from me had stolen from her elderly parents. Everyone had a bottom moment. Mine had just happened in front of 17 children and their parents, while my daughter presented evidence like a prosecutor. When it was my turn to share, I introduced myself and said I was a gambling addict. The words felt true and terrible. I described what had happened that afternoon, and several people nodded like they'd been there in some version. My son found my betting slips and showed them to his teacher, one man shared. That's what finally got me into treatment. Kids see the truth when adults pretend everything's fine. Another woman said her daughter had been the one to stage an intervention after years of lies. Kids are smarter than we think, she said. They know something's wrong even when they can't name it. My daughter saved my life by refusing to pretend anymore. The meeting lasted an hour. Afterward, 3 people gave me their phone numbers and said to call if I needed support. One guy, David, had been sober from gambling for 6 years. The shame is the hardest part, he said. You'll want to isolate. Don't. Keep coming back. Get a sponsor. Do the work. It's the only way through. I drove home to the silent house and found Lily's birthday cake still sitting on the kitchen counter, partially demolished. The candles were still stuck in the frosting, never lit. We'd never gotten to the singing, the wish, the photographs. Her 10th birthday would forever be remembered as the day she turned her father in. I cut myself a piece of cake and sat at the table alone. It tasted like failure. My phone buzzed with a text from Natalie's lawyer already, asking for a list of all bank accounts, credit cards, and financial liabilities. The divorce was starting before the party cleanup was even finished. I went outside and started taking down decorations. The bounce house had fully deflated into a sad pile of vinyl. The rental company would charge extra for leaving it overnight, but I didn't have money for extras anymore. I didn't have money for anything. Everything would go to paying back what I'd stolen from my own children. I found Lily's forgotten purple folder on the picnic table. She must have left it when Natalie rushed them out. I opened it and looked through the evidence again. She'd organized everything with tabs and labels. Bank statements, credit cards, computer screenshots, timeline of lies. At the back was a section labeled, What I Tried First. It contained printouts of emails Lily had sent to Natalie. Mom, I'm worried about Dad. Can we check the college money together? The email was dated 6 weeks ago. Natalie's response, Don't worry, sweetie. Daddy and I have everything under control. Another email from 2 weeks later. Mom, I found something on Dad's computer that looks like gambling. Should I tell you? No response to that one. Another email just last week. Mom, please can we look at the bank account? I think something is really wrong. Natalie had replied. Lily, you need to stop worrying about grown-up finances and focus on school. Everything is fine. She'd tried. Multiple times. Multiple ways. She'd gone to her mother, her grandmother, even her teacher according to the next section of the folder. Mrs. Kensington had responded to Lily's concerns by emailing Natalie suggesting a meeting to discuss Lily's anxiety about family finances. Natalie had declined, saying Lily was just going through a worried phase and they were handling it privately. Every adult had failed her. Every attempt to tell the truth had been dismissed, so she'd gathered evidence that couldn't be dismissed. Bank statements don't lie. Screenshots don't exaggerate. Credit card balances don't suffer from childhood anxiety. She'd built an irrefutable case because anything less would have been ignored. The sophistication was stunning and heartbreaking. The final section of the folder was labeled Plan. It outlined her strategy for the birthday party confrontation. Step 1. Hide evidence folder under picnic table before guests arrive. Step 2. Call 911 at 3:14 p.m. using Mom's phone while Mom is in the house getting candles. Step 3. Tell dispatcher exactly what proof is available. Step 4. Present evidence when police arrive in front of witnesses so Dad can't lie. Step 5. Make sure Mom sees everything so she understands why this was necessary. She'd planned it like a military operation. Even the timing was calculated. 3:14 p.m. meant officers would arrive around 3:30, right when we were supposed to start the party activities. Maximum embarrassment, maximum witnesses, maximum pressure. She'd weaponized her own birthday to save her family. The sophistication of it made me realize I'd completely underestimated my daughter. She wasn't just smart, she was strategic. And she'd been watching me lie and gaslight for months, learning, documenting, preparing. I'd taught her through my actions that you can't trust words. You need evidence. You need witnesses. You need a plan. These were terrible lessons for a father to teach his daughter. I spent that night on the couch, unable to face the bedroom I'd shared with Natalie. My phone stayed silent except for one text from my mother. Natalie told me what happened. I'm disappointed beyond words. Don't contact me until you're in treatment. My own mother had cut me off. I'd burned every bridge in a single afternoon. The next morning, I drove to the addiction counselor's office for my assessment. Dr. Ramona Shaw was in her 50s with the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who'd heard every excuse. She asked about my gambling history, and I tried to downplay it at first. Recreational betting that got out of hand. She stopped me. Your 10-year-old daughter filed a case against you like a detective. I need complete honesty, or this won't work. So I told the truth. It started 18 months ago with a co-worker's fantasy football league. Small bets, friendly competition. But I'd won the first season, and the adrenaline rush was intoxicating. I started betting on real games, then discovered online poker, then found daily fantasy sports, then cryptocurrency gambling. Each new platform promised better odds, bigger payouts, easier wins. I told myself I was good at it, that I had a system, that one big score would solve all our financial problems. The lies were as addictive as the gambling. Every time Natalie asked about money, I'd invent a story. Car repairs, insurance increases, work expenses. Each lie required another lie to support it. The web got so complex I started keeping notes to track what I'd told her. Eventually, I stopped caring about consistency. She wanted to believe me, so she did, until Lily stopped believing. Dr. Shaw diagnosed me with gambling disorder, moderate to severe. She explained that it's a recognized addiction with the same brain patterns as substance abuse. The chase, the high, the withdrawal, the escalating bets to achieve the same rush. I'd hit every marker. She recommended intensive outpatient treatment, 3 sessions per week, plus daily GA meetings. Your daughter's intervention probably saved your life, she said. Most gambling addicts don't hit bottom until they're homeless or in jail. You've lost your family and your dignity, but you still have a chance to rebuild if you do the work. She asked if I'd had suicidal thoughts. I admitted I'd considered it while packing up birthday decorations alone last night. She made me promise to call a hotline if those thoughts returned and scheduled me for therapy twice a week with a trauma specialist. Your family will need therapy too, she said. Your daughter especially. What she did was brave, but it'll cost her emotionally. She's 10 years old. She shouldn't have had to save her family. I asked if Lily would ever forgive me. Dr. Shaw looked at me seriously. That's not the question you should be asking. The question is whether you can become someone worthy of her trust again. And that takes years, not apologies. CPS showed up at the house 3 days after the birthday party disaster. The caseworker, Darnell Thompson, was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with a kind face that didn't match the authority he carried. He asked to tour the house and interview me about the children's living conditions. I'm assessing whether financial neglect has put the children at risk, he explained. Your daughter's 911 call triggered an automatic investigation. I showed him River's room, Lily's room, the kitchen fully stocked with food. Everything was physically fine. Darnell took notes on a tablet while asking pointed questions. Had the children ever gone without meals because of my gambling? No. Had utilities been shut off? Not yet, but I was behind on payments. Had I borrowed money from the children directly or made them feel responsible for adult financial problems? Not directly, but Lily clearly felt the weight of it. Darnell looked at Lily's organized room with her books alphabetized and her desk arranged with perfect precision. She's a careful child, he observed. Organized, methodical. Those traits probably helped her build her case, but they also suggest anxiety. Children who need extreme control over their environment are often responding to chaos they can't control elsewhere. He asked to see my financial records. I showed him the depleted college fund statements, the credit card balances, the fake documents I'd created. He didn't judge, just documented everything with clinical detachment. Mr. Reeves, I'm going to require supervised visitation until you complete treatment and can demonstrate financial stability, Darnell said finally. Your wife has temporary full custody, which the court will likely formalize. You'll need to submit proof of GA attendance, therapy compliance, and a financial recovery plan before I can recommend reunification. He explained that I'd also need to attend a parenting class focused on rebuilding trust with children after betrayal. The class met on Wednesday evenings and was filled with parents who'd committed various forms of neglect or abuse. You're in the mild category, Darnell said. No physical harm, no immediate danger to the children. But emotional harm is real, and your daughter's extreme response proves she felt desperate. That's concerning. Before leaving, he told me the supervised visits would start next week if I agreed to the terms. Natalie would be present as the supervisor, along with a CPS monitor for the first month. Your daughter gets to decide if she wants to see you, Darnell warned. We don't force children to visit parents they don't feel safe with. River is young enough that he'll probably want to see you. Lily may not. You need to prepare for that. The thought of Lily refusing to see me was devastating, but I'd earned it. She'd called 911 on me. Of course, she didn't feel safe. The first supervised visit was scheduled at a neutral location, a CPS family room with toys and cameras. Natalie brought both kids, but looked like she'd aged 10 years in 1 week. River ran to me and hugged my legs, asking when I was coming home. Lily sat on a chair against the wall, as far from me as the room allowed, and stared at her shoes. The CPS monitor, a woman named Imani, explained the rules. I could interact with the children for 1 hour. No gifts, no promises about the future, no discussion of the separation or divorce. Just supervised time together. River played with blocks while I helped him build towers. He chattered about school and his friends, seemingly unbothered by everything. Kids his age are resilient, or maybe just unaware. Lily didn't move from her chair for the first 30 minutes. I finally asked if she wanted to draw together, something we used to do. She shook her head. I don't want to draw with you, she said clearly. I only came because the CPS man said I should give you one chance. I asked what I could do to earn more chances. She looked at me finally. Stop lying. Go to your meetings. Get a job to pay back the money. Prove you're different. Then she went back to staring at her shoes. The hour felt eternal. Afterward, Imani said the visit went better than some first attempts. Your son still trusts you. Your daughter is protecting herself, which is healthy. Don't push her. Show her through actions, not words. Natalie handed River to me for a hug goodbye, but didn't speak. Lily left without looking back. I watched them walk to the car and drive away. My family that I'd destroyed. I attended GA meetings every day that first month, heard stories that mirrored mine. Lost houses, marriages, trust. Everyone chasing the fantasy of one big win that would fix everything. David became my sponsor and called me daily to check in, especially on nights when the urge to gamble felt overwhelming. He explained the triggers: stress, boredom, shame. The shame makes you want to escape into gambling, he said. But gambling creates more shame. It's a death spiral. You have to sit with the discomfort without numbing it. The therapy with Dr. Ash Shaw involved unpacking why I'd turned to gambling in the first place. Childhood issues with my father's expectations. Feeling like I never measured up. The high of winning, providing temporary relief from feeling inadequate. We traced patterns back decades. Understanding didn't excuse anything, but it helped explain the compulsion. The parenting class on Wednesday nights was humbling. 12 parents who'd failed their children in various ways. Some had addiction issues like me. Others had anger problems, neglect, emotional abuse. We learned about rebuilding trust, about how children need consistency over promises, about repair being possible, but not guaranteed. The instructor, Janet, had 3 adult children who'd all cut her off after years of her alcoholism. She'd been sober 8 years, but still only had supervised contact with her grandchildren. You don't get to decide when they forgive you, she said bluntly. You do the work and hope they see the change. Some kids forgive eventually, some don't. You have to accept both outcomes. I wasn't ready to accept Lily never forgiving me, but I had no choice. Natalie filed for divorce 6 weeks after the birthday party incident. The papers cited irreconcilable differences and detailed my financial deception. She asked for full custody, child support, and division of assets that left me with nearly nothing, since I'd gambled away most of our savings. Her lawyer, Monica Huang, was aggressive and well-prepared. My lawyer, a public defender named Sam Ortiz, since I couldn't afford private counsel anymore, advised me to agree to everything. You have no leverage, he said flatly. You committed financial abuse. You lied extensively. You traumatized your daughter. Any judge will side with your wife. Take the deal she offers and be grateful she's not pressing criminal charges. The divorce proceedings revealed more damage than I'd realized. Natalie had contacted every family member explaining what had happened, and most had cut ties with me. My brother texted saying he was deeply disappointed and needed space. My sister-in-law blocked my number. Friends stopped responding to messages. I'd become a social pariah, the neighborhood dad who gambled away his kid's college fund and got caught by his 10-year-old. Some people are defined by their worst moment. I was learning that the hard way. I picked up extra shifts at work to start paying back the debt. My boss had heard about the situation through the neighborhood gossip network, but kept me employed, probably out of pity. Get help, Greg, was all he said. Do better. I started a payment plan with Natalie to rebuild the college fund. $75 a week from my paycheck went directly into an account she controlled. At that rate, it would take years to restore what I'd stolen, but it was something. Proof of action, not just words. River's supervised visits continued weekly, and he slowly stopped asking when I was coming home. Lily attended 3 more visits over 2 months, each time sitting in her chair against the wall, refusing to engage. The 4th visit, she didn't come at all. Natalie said Lily had chosen not to see me, and Imani supported her decision. She's not ready, Imani explained. Forcing it would do more harm. Give her time. 3 months after the birthday party, I received an envelope in the mail with Lily's school return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper with her careful handwriting. Dear Dad, I wanted you to know I got the highest grade in my class on my financial literacy project. I did a presentation on gambling addiction and how families can protect themselves. My teacher said it was very mature and well-researched. I used some of the evidence from my folder. I'm not ready to see you yet, but I wanted to tell you I'm doing okay. River misses you. I miss who you used to be. Get better. Lily. The letter destroyed me and gave me hope simultaneously. She was healing by using her trauma for education. She was processing by teaching others, and she'd acknowledged missing who I used to be, which meant she remembered a version of me worth missing. I wrote back immediately, a short letter that didn't make promises. Dear Lily, I'm proud of your project and your courage. You saved our family by refusing to let me keep lying. I'm going to meetings every day and seeing a therapist twice a week. I can't promise when I'll be better, but I'm working on it. I love you. I miss you too, Dad. I didn't know if she'd read it or write back, but it was all I could offer. Words backed by actions, slowly building a foundation of trust one day at a time. 6 months into recovery, Dr. Shaw said I was making progress but had years of work ahead. The urge to gamble never fully disappeared. It lived in my brain like a dormant virus, waiting for stress or boredom to reactivate it. I'd learned to recognize the triggers and call David instead of opening gambling sites. He'd talked me down a dozen times in moments when the compulsion felt overwhelming. It passes, he always said. The urge peaks, and then fades if you don't feed it. Sit with it. Call me. Go to a meeting, but don't gamble. The divorce was finalized in month 7. Natalie got the house, full custody, and most assets. I got supervised visitation, a payment plan, and a studio apartment near my work. The settlement was harsh, but fair. I destroyed our family finances and broken every promise. The consequences fit the crime. Rivers' visits became more relaxed over time. He'd actually play with me now, instead of asking when I was coming home. At 8 years old, he'd adapted to the new normal. 2 houses, 2 bedrooms, split holidays. He didn't understand the gambling addiction part, just knew Daddy made bad choices and was working to fix them. Lily's absence was constant. 9 months without seeing her, just occasional letters back and forth, stilted and careful. She'd tell me about school achievements and ask pointed questions about my recovery. Are you still going to meetings? Did you pay Mom this week? What did your therapist say about relapse prevention? She was still monitoring me, still gathering evidence, still protecting herself. I answered every question honestly, knowing she'd verify somehow. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. Lily agreed to attend a joint therapy session with me, Dr. Shaw mediating. Natalie brought her to the office but waited outside. Lily sat in the chair furthest from me, that familiar position against the wall. Dr. Shaw explained the format. This wasn't about me explaining or apologizing. This was Lily's space to express whatever she needed. She'd prepared notes, of course, bullet points on an index card. I want to know why you lied, she started. Not the addiction explanation. Why you lied to me specifically when I asked about the college money. I admitted I'd underestimated her, thought I could brush off her questions with vague reassurances. I hadn't realized she'd noticed the discrepancies or have the skills to investigate. That was my first mistake, I said, underestimating how smart and capable you are. Lily's next question was harder. Did you ever think about how it would affect us? Like actually think about me and River not having college money? I hadn't. Not really. I'd been so deep in the addiction cycle that future consequences felt abstract. I knew intellectually it was wrong, I said. But addiction makes you not care about anything except the next bet. I'm not making excuses. I'm just being honest. I didn't think about you specifically until you made me think about you by calling 911. Lily wrote something on her index card, then continued. I practiced what I was going to say to the police for 3 days. I was scared they wouldn't believe me, or that you'd get arrested and River would be sad. But I was more scared that if I didn't do something, we'd lose everything. The weight of that decision, on a 10-year-old, was crushing. You shouldn't have had to do that, I said. You should have been able to trust me to be honest. I failed you completely, and you had to save our family because I wouldn't. Dr. Shaw asked Lily what she needed from me moving forward. Lily consulted her notes again. I need you to be boring, she said. No promises about fixing things, no big gestures, just boring normal parent stuff without drama. Go to work, go to meetings, pay Mom back, don't lie, be boring. It was the most reasonable request, and the hardest to fulfill. Boring meant consistent. Consistent meant months and years of small actions proving I'd changed. No shortcuts, no dramatic redemption, just steady, boring reliability. I promised I'd try, then corrected myself. I will be boring. You'll see. Lily nodded but didn't smile. She left the office without hugging me goodbye, but she'd shown up. That was something. Over the next year, I focused on being boring. Work, meetings, therapy, supervised visits, payment plans, nothing exciting or dramatic, just showing up consistently. River's visits moved to unsupervised after I completed 6 months of clean drug tests, even though drugs had never been my problem. Natalie occasionally texted logistics about pickups and drop-offs, our only communication. I learned River had started baseball and that Lily had joined the debate team. I watched River's games from a distance, not sitting with Natalie's family. Lily's debate tournament fell on a Saturday when I had no visitation scheduled, but I asked Natalie if I could attend. She checked with Lily, who said yes, but only if I sat in the back. I sat in the last row and watched my daughter demolish her opponents with logical arguments and airtight evidence. She'd always been smart, but now she was weaponizing that intelligence academically. During her final round, she argued about financial literacy education in schools, citing statistics about gambling addiction and family bankruptcy. She glanced at me once during her speech, just for a second, then continued. She won first place. I clapped from the back row but didn't approach afterward. Boring meant respecting boundaries. 18 months after the birthday party incident, Lily agreed to start regular visitation. Once a month, for 2 hours at a neutral location. She brought homework and worked on it while River and I played games. She rarely spoke directly to me, but would answer questions with 1 or 2 words. Dr. Shaw said this was normal. She's testing whether you'll stay consistent, she explained. Every visit you show up on time, sober, and honest is data she's collecting. Eventually, the data will outweigh the betrayal. I asked how long that would take. However long she needs, Dr. Shaw said. You don't get to rush her timeline. I didn't. I showed up every scheduled visit, brought no gifts, made no promises, just sat quietly while she did homework and River played. Sometimes Lily would ask factual questions. Did you go to your meeting this week? How much have you paid back? What's your savings account balance? I answered honestly every time, showing her my meeting attendance sheet or my bank app. She was still monitoring, still verifying, still protecting herself. 2 years after the disaster, River asked if I could come to his birthday party. He was turning 8, and they were having it at an arcade. Natalie said yes if I agreed to arrive late and leave early. No overlap with extended family who'd be there. I showed up an hour into the party, stayed for 30 minutes, watched River play games, then left without incident. Boring. Lily's supervised visits eventually moved to unsupervised after I hit 2 years of continuous recovery. The first unsupervised visit was awkward. We went to a coffee shop and she ordered a hot chocolate while doing homework. I read a book. We sat in silence for 90 minutes. On the drive back to Natalie's house, Lily spoke without prompting. My therapist says I have control issues from what happened. She says I needed extreme control because everything felt chaotic with your addiction. I asked if therapy was helping. Some, she said. It's hard to let go of needing to check everything. But I'm working on it. We pulled into Natalie's driveway. Lily unbuckled and reached for the door, then stopped. Dad, I read that most gambling addicts relapse within 5 years. Are you going to relapse? I thought about lying to comfort her, but that would destroy everything we'd rebuilt. I don't plan to, I said honestly, but addiction is lifelong. I'll always have to manage it. That's why I still go to meetings. That's why I check in with my sponsor. I can't promise I'll never relapse, but I promise if I do, I'll tell you immediately. Lily nodded. That's what I needed to hear. The truth. Then she went inside. 3 years after the birthday party, Lily agreed to spend a full day together. We went to a science museum, something we used to do before everything fell apart. She'd grown taller, more confident, less guarded. She still asked occasional verification questions, but they'd become routine rather than accusatory. We watched a planetarium show about black holes, and afterward, she turned to me. Do you remember when I was 7 and we came here, and I wanted to be an astronaut? I remembered. She'd been obsessed with space for months. You told me I could do anything if I worked hard and didn't let anyone tell me I wasn't smart enough, she continued. I think about that a lot, because you also taught me that words don't matter if actions contradict them. Both lessons were important. She wasn't being cruel, just factual. I'd taught her to trust actions over words by being untrustworthy. You're right, I said. I'm sorry the lesson came from watching me lie. Lily shrugged. It made me better at debate. I always look for evidence now, not just arguments. So something good came from something bad. We ate lunch in the museum cafeteria. She told me about applying to a summer program for gifted students focused on law and public policy. She wanted to be a lawyer eventually, maybe working on financial crimes or helping families like ours. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. I'm proud of you, I said. Not just because you're smart, but because you're brave. What you did at your birthday party saved our family. I know it cost you, but it saved us. Lily picked at her sandwich. Sometimes I wish I'd just kept quiet. It would have been easier. River and I wouldn't have had to change schools or go to therapy or have divorced parents. I asked if she really wished that. She thought about it, then shook her head. No, you would have kept gambling until we lost the house or worse. I did the right thing, even if it was hard. That's what I tell other kids when they ask about it. Other kids knew. Of course they knew. Small town, big scandal. I asked if kids gave her trouble about it. Some did at first, she said. Called me a snitch or said I ruined my own family. But most people think I'm brave. My teachers treat me different now, like I'm more mature. It's weird. We finished lunch and walked through the geology exhibit. Near the end of the day, Lily asked if we could take a photo together. First photo in 3 years. We stood in front of a dinosaur skeleton, and she set the timer on her phone. The photo showed her smiling cautiously, me with relief and exhaustion. Not a happy family portrait, but real. I'm going to show my therapist, Lily said. Prove I'm working on rebuilding trust. Everything was still evidence to her, but at least now the evidence showed progress instead of betrayal. 4 years after the birthday party disaster, I attended Lily's middle school graduation. Natalie had remarried by then, a kind man named Thomas, who'd been patient with her trauma and gentle with the kids. I sat separate from them during the ceremony, but close enough to see Lily receive an award for academic excellence. Her speech as valedictorian included a section about overcoming family challenges and learning to trust again. She didn't mention specifics, but everyone knew. The entire town knew about the girl who'd called 911 on her dad at her birthday party. She'd become local legend. After the ceremony, Lily found me in the parking lot. Thanks for coming, she said. Then, unexpectedly, she hugged me. Quick and awkward, but a hug. The first physical contact in 4 years. I've been working toward that in therapy, she explained, stepping back. Touch as reconnection. It was weird, but I wanted to try. I told her I was proud of her speech, proud of everything she'd accomplished. She nodded. I'm proud of you too, Dad. 4 years without gambling. That's hard. We stood there awkwardly, not knowing what else to say. River ran up, excited about graduation and his upcoming high school years. He hugged me easily, no hesitation. Different kids, different trauma responses, different healing timelines. The college fund was fully restored by year 5, thanks to my payment plan and contributions from my mother, who'd eventually forgiven me. Natalie had saved the money Lily's case against me had preserved, and between both sources, there was enough for both kids' educations. Lily called me when she got her acceptance letter to a prestigious university with a full scholarship. I got in on my own merit, she said carefully. The scholarship means I don't need the college fund yet. We can save it for River or emergencies. I asked how she felt about starting college. Excited? Nervous? Grateful I have the option. Then quietly, thanks for paying it back. You didn't have to after the divorce, but you did. That matters. I wanted to say of course I had to, that it was always their money, that I'd stolen from them and owed them everything. But I just said, you deserved better than me stealing your future. I'm glad you got it back. We talked for 20 more minutes about her college plans, her roommate assignment, her classes. Normal parent-child conversation, boring and beautiful. Before hanging up, Lily said, Dad, I want you to know I've mostly forgiven you. Not completely, probably never completely, but mostly. You did the work. You showed up. You were boring like I asked. It wasn't total absolution, but it was more than I deserved. Mostly forgiven was enough. Years passed. River graduated high school and chose a college close to home. Lily excelled in her pre-law program, still focused on financial crimes. She interned at a nonprofit helping families affected by gambling addiction, using her own story to connect with clients. She'd turned her trauma into purpose, which Dr. Shaw said was the healthiest possible outcome. She's remarkable, Dr. Shaw told me during one of our now monthly check-ins. Most people don't process trauma that effectively. She's building a life where her worst experience becomes her greatest strength. I still attended GA meetings, though less frequently. David remained my sponsor, calling weekly to check in. The urge to gamble had faded to background noise, manageable, if not gone. I'd learned to recognize the triggers and respond with action instead of avoidance. Work, meetings, therapy, time with kids, boring routine. One Saturday, Lily invited me to her college to hear her speak on a panel about childhood trauma and family recovery. I sat in the audience and watched my daughter tell our story to a room full of psychology students and counselors. She was articulate, honest, and clinical in her analysis. My father's gambling addiction taught me that love isn't enough, she explained. You also need honesty, consistency, and accountability. When those things break, trust breaks. Rebuilding takes years of boring, consistent action, not apologies, action. A student asked if she'd ever regretted calling 911 that day. Lily paused, considering carefully. I regret that it was necessary, she said. I regret that adults failed to listen when I tried quieter methods first, but I don't regret the action itself. Sometimes you have to be dramatic to be heard, especially as a child. I saved my family that day, even though it felt like I was destroying it. After the panel, we went to dinner at a campus restaurant. Lily had fully grown into herself, confident and capable and only slightly guarded around me. We talked about her plans after graduation, maybe law school or maybe direct advocacy work. She'd learned she liked helping families navigate crisis, which made sense given her origin story. You're going to be amazing at whatever you choose, I said. Lily smiled, more relaxed now. I know. I worked hard to get here. Then she looked at me seriously. Dad, I want you to know that what you did was terrible, and it shaped my entire childhood. But you also showed me that people can change if they really commit to it. Both things are true. She was right. Both things were true. I'd destroyed my family's trust, and then spent years rebuilding it one boring day at a time. The trauma was real. The recovery was real. They coexisted. 10 years after the birthday party incident, Lily called to tell me she'd passed the bar exam. She'd been hired by a nonprofit legal organization focusing on financial crimes and family advocacy. Her first case involved a mother who'd stolen her children's Social Security benefits for gambling. I told the kids they were brave for speaking up, Lily said. Just like I was brave. Sometimes saving your family means calling them out. I congratulated her, told her I was proud, told her she'd earned everything she'd accomplished. She laughed. I know, Dad. I don't need your approval anymore, but I wanted to share the news because you're part of the story. The bad part and the recovery part. We talked for an hour about her plans, her cases, her life. Normal adult conversation between father and daughter who'd survived something terrible and come out different, but intact. Before hanging up, Lily said something that felt like final closure. Dad, I want you at my eventual wedding, and I want River to walk me down the aisle because he's my person. But I want you there watching, because you did the work to deserve to witness my happiness. Does that seem fair? It seemed more than fair. It seemed generous. I told her so. She laughed again. Good. Now stay boring and don't relapse before then. I'm monitoring. The monitoring never fully stopped. Lily would always be a person who verified trust through evidence rather than accepting it through words. That birthday party had taught her patterns that shaped how she saw the world. She'd learned young that institutions can fail, adults can lie, and sometimes children have to save themselves. These were harsh lessons that made her exceptional at her work, but probably complicated in relationships. I hoped she'd find someone who understood her need for proof and evidence and didn't take it personally. River got married first, a simple ceremony where I sat with Natalie and Thomas like a blended family that functioned peacefully, if not warmly. Lily gave a toast about how River had always been the emotional center of their family, how he'd maintained love for everyone, even when things were broken. She didn't mention specifics, but everyone knew what she meant. Years of therapy had taught her to reference trauma without relitigating it publicly. I attended Lily's wedding 3 years later, watched River walk her down the aisle while I sat in the third row, not family section, but invited guest. Her spouse was a fellow lawyer who'd apparently been briefed thoroughly on the family history and seemed unbothered by Lily's verification tendencies. During the reception, Lily found me at my table. "Thanks for coming, Dad. And thanks for staying sober. I know you could have relapsed 100 times. You didn't. That's everything." I hugged her, and for once, she hugged back without hesitation. "I'm sorry for what I took from you," I said. "I'm sorry your childhood included building cases against your own father." Lily pulled back and looked at me seriously. "I'm not sorry I did it. I'm sorry I had to, but it made me who I am. I help families now because I know what it's like to be an unheard kid. So something good came from it, even if it was painful." She rejoined her reception while I sat quietly at my table, watching my daughter celebrate. She'd survived me. She'd turned trauma into purpose. She'd forgiven mostly, which was all anyone could ask. The DJ played songs, people danced, Lily laughed with her new spouse and her brother and her friends. Normal wedding joy, earned through years of recovery. As the evening ended, I drove back to my small apartment alone. 15 years of sobriety, 15 years of boring consistency, 15 years of proving through action that change was possible. It hadn't given me back what I'd lost. Natalie had moved on. My relationship with my kids was functional, but distant. I'd never regained what gambling had stolen, but I'd stopped the bleeding. I'd shown up. I'd been boring enough that my kids could build lives that included me at the margins. That's what recovery looked like. Not restoration, but reconstruction. Different, but intact. I still attended GA meetings occasionally, now as the old-timer who shared his story of the 10-year-old who'd called 911 at her birthday party. New members would gasp, some would cry. All would recognize themselves in the desperation and denial. "My daughter saved my life by refusing to let me lie," I'd tell them. "She was 10 years old and braver than I've ever been." If a kid can gather evidence and build a case and risk everything to save her family, you can admit you have a problem and ask for help. Some would approach me afterward, asking how to rebuild trust with their own families. I'd tell them the truth. Years of boring consistency. No shortcuts, no dramatic gestures. Just showing up sober and honest every single day until the evidence outweighs the betrayal. Some would commit to the work. Some would relapse and disappear. Addiction was like that. A lifetime battle with no guaranteed victory. But Lily had taught me that fighting the battle was worth it, even if the scars remained. She'd fought for our family when I wouldn't. The least I could do was fight for my sobriety every day after. That was the gift of that humiliating birthday party. The gift of a daughter who loved us enough to expose the truth, no matter the cost. The gift of being stopped before total destruction. The gift of a second chance I didn't deserve but received anyway. Thanks for hanging out till the end. If you want more stories, make sure to subscribe and leave your take below.